Welcome to the fascinating world of traffic signals. Today we are responding to a call at this intersection here because people are not getting the green light at this left turn lane. Now I know for certain that they are getting vehicle calls and should be getting the green light, but the controller's not allowing phase one, which is that left turn lane for this flashing yellow arrow up here, to get the green light. So let's get inside this traffic signal controller cabinet here and let's take a look. So let's go ahead and open up this traffic signal controller cabinet here and let's take a look at this controller. And as you can see, there's already a call locked onto phase one and it keeps skipping phase one and it should not be doing it. It's like it's omitted, but when we go through the omits, it's not set up to skip that phase at any given time. So we're probably going to default this controller and try to re-upload all the data to it that's proper at this intersection and see if it works then, thinking maybe some of the data transferred over was a little bit corrupt at the first time. So let's give that a try and see if it works. All right, so on this thumb drive right here, I have all the pre-saved data from this controller, meaning all the timing and setup for this intersection is right here on this thumb drive. So first off, we can go ahead and default this controller. What I'm gonna do now is go ahead and put the intersection into flash. There's nobody on opposing lanes of traffic at the moment. And while it's in flash, we can go ahead and default the controller. You wanna hit 2, which is utilities, hit data manager, load default config, and then we're gonna press enter right here. And there we go, the controller has been defaulted to a previous software options that hopefully don't have that issue. Now, before I actually load all the data back onto that controller, I'm going to set up this controller to run this intersection without all the proper timings, chord patterns, and so on, and see if they get a green light on phase one. If they do, that tells me that there was just some issue when transferring the data and that it's not a bad controller. If it doesn't, then we have an issue with the controller, possibly the firmware with it, and we may have to get it sent off and checked out. All right, so out here we are using phases 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and we are using overlap A. So we need to go into 3, which is phase data, 4 for initialize, and we're gonna initialize all the phases we're gonna be using. So they already have them checked off, but we're gonna take out the phases that we're not using, like phase 5, 7, and 8. We're not using either of those. So we got a 0 underneath those, we're good on that. And now we need to put in our overlap. So hit unit data, overlap data. We're gonna be using overlap A. I'm gonna press next over here twice, which is gonna make it to FYA. Hit enter, go down, put a protect phase as 1, permissive phase is phase 2, and now our flashing yellow arrow is set up. Next step, I still need this controller to talk back to this conflict monitor and this iTerrace device here. So we need to go into unit data, port 1 ITS data, which is number 7. And we're gonna go down to detection BIU number 1. We're gonna enable that. And we're gonna go down to our malfunction unit and enable that. Now, we can take this intersection out of flash and see if it will cycle properly. I'm gonna do that right now. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit like and make sure to subscribe. Let's get right back into it. You can see now, and even in the field, that this intersection is out of flash. Now we need to see it cycle through every phase on this intersection and make sure everybody gets a green light when they're supposed to. I'm gonna lock in some hard calls over here on the door to each phases. Obviously we're not using 5, 7, or 8, but it doesn't matter if we get those checked over or not. So it's cycling through the intersection right now. It's on phase 4, and then it's gonna jump over to phase 1, or should jump over to phase 1. Let's see if they get the green light. As you can see, it's working like it should. So that means some of our data transferred over and was corrupted during the process. But phase 6 and 1 came on together, which is what's supposed to happen. That means this left turn lane out there has a green light and they can clear through this intersection. So now what I'm going to do is hook up this thumb drive and transfer all that data back into this controller and see if we have the issue again or if that solved our issue and we can go home and enjoy our weekend. So I have the USB drive into the controller. Now we have to hit utilities. We need to go into data manager. We're gonna hit 3, which is load save USB config, 1, load from a USB, and we need to hit on this guy right here. Hit 1, it's gonna validate. Hit enter right here. It's gonna continue, default all the data beforehand. We really don't need to, we just default to the controller, but we'll still say yes because it's smart to do so. And we'll hit yes on the network settings as well. And everything loaded successfully. And as you can see, we have calls put in, and we are going to have to see this intersection cycle and make sure that phase 1 does get a green light. All right, and as you can see, the intersection is cycling right now. It's going off of phase 3 to phase 4. And let's see after phase 4 clears out if we get a green light on phase 1. If we do, then problem solved and their issues are over with. And obviously they're not. It's cycling straight back to 2 and 6. Meaning there is something in the data that's transferring over that shouldn't be. I'm gonna take a look into this a little bit further and see if I can't find where the issue is underlying. All right, so I'm absolutely positive that it's something transferring over when we transfer data over to this controller. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and get my laptop out, get tactics up and ready, and I'm going to transfer data one piece at a time and try to figure out the source of the issue. Once I find the source of the issue, hopefully I can track down or just not even transfer that data to this controller here and then have this intersection running like it should while still having all the proper times and time schedules inside of this controller. So let me get started on that. All right, so I have the laptop configured up with this controller here, and if I had to guess, it's going to be in this system and detector data. So I'm going to go ahead and load all the data plans for this controller besides the system detector data. That's just a little hunch I have. It may not be that at all, but that's what I'm going to attempt at first and see if that works. All right, so what I've done so far is I have used tactics to transfer only the phase and signal timing data over to this controller, and it was working like it should. So then I just went ahead and manually entered in everything else that I needed to enter for the most part. So it should be set up, working properly. They weren't really running cord data. This intersection's way far away from any other. So what I did is at least gonna save the complaints for a little while, but I have noticed a lot of false calls on phase 1 because of this iTerra system, and this time I'm not gonna blame them 100%. They're doing construction here to widen this road, and it's pushing all these people over, so they're coming real close to this left turn lane and hitting the zones that are set up for phase 1. So I'm just gonna move those zones in a little bit, and hopefully that will eliminate the false calls. And at least for the weekend, this intersection is going to work like it should. If we need to come out here once school starts back up, and if they have more complaints maybe about the timings of everything else in there, then we'll come back out and we'll get everything else sorted out. But for the time being, this is going to run like it should, and hopefully it will stop all the complaints. As you can see, he's on phase 1. He has a call. They have to max out first, so he has 30 seconds before he gets a green light. I'll show y'all that he gets a green light, and then that will be the end of this video, hopefully, because I'm ready to go eat some dinner, and my family's behind me and ready to go eat as well. And as you can see, they are getting the green light. They are still getting the green light. It's cycling to phase 1. They do have an unprotected left turn lane, and they got a free gap right there, so then people are already down the road they're headed towards. But it is working. I locked in the call on that one. Gonna work on moving these zones in a little bit. And I went ahead and I also desensitized just 3 of these zones. It seemed like they were having a little tricky issues, but I'm gonna leave this one undesensitized so that hopefully at least the front vehicle will always get picked up. I still think they're gonna get recognized regardless. All right guys, so I was wrong actually. I was assuming it was gonna be in the system and detector data, but it's actually in the time-based data that we have out here. It's not allowing, it's pretty much omitting phase 1 and not ever allowing it to get the green light. So we're gonna remove the time-based data, upload everything else, and then have this intersection running like it should without that, and we may have to just come back and manually enter in sometimes during the school zones and school times and everything. I'm not actually certain on the schedule for this intersection, so we'll have to get with probably the county and the state and try to see what they want so that these don't get backed up and this phase after school doesn't get just extremely backed up when trying to come out of here. But that's what I'm gonna do, and this intersection will work for hopefully forever, and they'll be just fine with how it is. If not, we'll have to come out here and adjust a few more things. Job well done. I'm gonna go feed my family, and as always, thanks for watching.